It being 7 o'clock, I'll call the December 20th, 2022 City Council meeting to order. Daryl, would you mind leading us in the flag salute?
Speakers.
I should mention that Mayor Benetti is joining us virtually tonight. I had no idea so many people would show up for our oath of office tonight. This is impressive. Sorry. Item number 2 is recording of November 2022 election results, oath of office, and election of council president. Nicole?
Yes, I will take that. Thank you. So, per the charter of the City of Coos Bay, the results of the elections should be made a matter of our record. And in order to do that, we've generally just read that into the proceedings of the council so that they're then transcribed into the minutes. So the November election included a position for mayor and 3 councils, as well as, which was not included in your staff report, the ballot measure asking the question regarding psilocybin. So regarding the positions on council, there were 6,679 ballots cast for total registered voters of 11,310. Total votes cast for the mayor position, 4,226. Total votes cast for councilor's position, there were 3 open positions. Total votes of 10,342. Total votes cast for mayor for each person. Joe Benetti, 3,912, and a write-in candidate, 314. Total votes cast for council positions by each person. Carmen Matthews, 3,451. Rob Miles, 3,416. Sarah Stevens, 3,244. And write-in candidate, 231. There were no propositions on this ballot. The results of the election for the mayor office was Joe Benetti. The results of the election for the councilor office was Carmen Matthews, Rob Miles, and Sarah Stevens. We did place a measure on the ballot, Measure 6-202, which was approved by voters, prohibiting psilocybin-related businesses within Coos Bay. For this measure, 8,679 ballots were cast. There were 11,310 registered voters, total votes of 6,415, total yes votes 3,664, total no votes 2,751. That concludes the reading of the results.
Do we need to accept this, or is that
We just have to read it into the record.
Okay. And now the oath of office, is that correct?
Yes. Okay, so I'll handle
The
that.
mic's turned on. I tried being at home and I don't hear you guys, and I don't hear you either, but then somebody switches a little switch, and all of a sudden, we can hear.
Is there a switch to switch?
No, the microphones are on, and we are in progress for updating the sound system in the council chambers. We're told that might be done by February of next year. We're waiting on supplies.
Can you hear us if we get a little closer to the microphones? Can you hear that better? Yes. Okay, I have to get right into it.
Okay, so this process oath of office, we typically would ask the individuals to stand with Mayor Benetti attending virtually. We won't do so, but I would ask that he raise his right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
Joe Benetti,
Do solemnly swear that I will support
do solemnly swear that I will support
the Constitution and laws of the United States of America and the state of Oregon,
constitutions and laws of the United States of America and the state of Oregon,
and the city charter and ordinances of the city of Coos Bay,
and the city charter and ordinances of the city of Coos Bay,
and that I will do to the best of my ability,
and that I will do to the best of my ability,
faithfully and lawfully perform the duties of mayor
faithfully and lawfully perform the duties of mayor
for the city of Coos Bay
for the city of Coos Bay
during my continuance therein,
during my continuance therein,
so help me God.
so help me God.
All right. And then I would ask that the counselors, Sarah Stevens, Rob Miles, and, well, Carmen's not here, so we'll have to delay his till the next meeting. If you could stand and raise your right hand. And then you'll do the same. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Rob Miles,
Stevens. Do solemnly swear that I will support
do solemnly swear that I will support
the Constitution and laws of the United States of America and the state of Oregon,
the Constitution and laws of the United States of America and the state of Oregon,
and the city charter and ordinances of the city of Coos Bay,
and the city charter and ordinances of the city of Coos Bay.
and that I will do to the best of my ability,
And that I will do to the best of my ability,
faithfully and lawfully perform the duties of counselor
faithfully and lawfully perform the duties of counselor
for the city of Coos Bay
for the city of Coos Bay
during my continuance therein,
during my continuance therein,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I will do the next part. As is stated in the council rules and the city charter, after each biennial election, one of the first duties is to elect a council president. First, before we do that, I would share that our rules state that you will elect by ballot. Of course, those rules in the city charter were written long before we had the ability to attend virtually. Given that we do have attendance virtually and in person, first I would ask you to suspend your council rules so that you can do a voice vote.
So you need a motion?
I do.
I move that we suspend our council rules so we can do a voice vote.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of suspending the council rules, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Hearing none, that's passed. Then I will open up the floor for nominations for council president. Do we have a nomination?
I
I would
nominate
like-
Counselor Miles.
We have
Second.
one. We have a nomination for Councilor Miles and a second. Is there any other nominations, or is there a motion to close the nominations?
I move we close the
I'll move to
nominations.
close the nominations.
Second.
Well, it sounds almost unanimous already, so all those in favor of closing the nominations?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, then to the vote. All in favor of Councilor Miles continuing his service as council president, say aye.
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 Any opposed? I hear none. I will turn the meeting back over to you, Council President.
Thank you, Roger. The next item on the agenda is public comments. If you have a public comment for an item that is not on the agenda, please come forward now.
Point of information. Will we be able to comment on the plan later?
Yes, when it comes up in the agenda. Ken, did you want to come up?
Good evening, everybody. I just want to say thank you to our police department, our doctors at the hospital, the nurses, the fire department, and I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. The other three names on here are for the Parks plan, is that correct?
Yes.
Is there anybody else that would like to make a comment at this time? On the parks plan? No, in general. Hearing none, I'll move on to item number 4, the consent calendar. Council, how would you like to proceed?
I move that we approve consent calendar.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Item number 5 is presentation of retirement plaque to Senior Officer Babb. Chief, is it you?
I'm going to come around to the podium.
Can we veto it? It's worth a try.
All right. I'm not trying to turn my back on everybody, but I'll have to face this direction and kind of speak into the microphone so everybody can hear. First of all, I want to thank everybody for letting us take a few minutes tonight and recognize Senior Officer Darrell Babb for his over 24 years of service as a police officer for the city of Coos Bay, and as you'll hear a little bit later, also for the county of Coos. And with that, on behalf of the city of Coos Bay and the Coos Bay Police Department and the Coos Bay Police Officers Association, we would like to honor you for your over 24 years of service and present you with this shadow box here in just a minute, but we're not going to let you look at it until we present it to you. But before we do, we want to provide everybody in the audience a little bit of background, and the council a little bit of background on Senior Officer Babb. So Officer Babb, this is not going to be a real long story. It's probably about an hour, hour and a half. So, no, I'm just kidding. Senior Officer Babb, he, on December 31st of this year, he will retire from the city of Coos Bay after 24 years and 7 months. He has served the residents of Coos County and the residents of the city of Coos Bay for those years. On May 19th, 1998, Officer Babb was hired at the Coos County Sheriff's Office, where he began his law enforcement career as a corrections deputy. Officer Babb remained with the Sheriff's Office until December 6, 1999, when he was hired at the Coos Bay Police Department as a police officer. During his time at the Coos Bay Police Department, Senior Officer Babb served in many roles, to include patrol officer, a detective, a watch commander, firearms instructor, a radar and LiDAR instructor, our department armor, an ORPAT fitness instructor. Senior Officer Babb also served as a detective with the South Coast Interagency Narcotics Team, SENT, and he also served on our emergency response team, which is the county's SWAT team, and also was a longtime member of the crash team, which is the multi-agency team that goes out on vehicle crashes. In May of 2020, Senior Officer Babb became the Coos Bay Police Department's first community resource officer, in which his primary duties was to assist the unsheltered population and find resources to assist them within our community. Senior Officer Babb did an outstanding job with this program and has touched the lives of countless individuals within our community. Senior Officer Babb holds a basic, intermediate, and advanced law enforcement certifications through Oregon Department of Public Safety Standards and Training. And prior to his career in law enforcement, Senior Officer Babb served in the U.S. Marine Corps. Senior Officer Babb has been married to his lovely wife for 28 years. His wife, Stacy's here. She's videoing it. And they have a son. He's here as well. Senior Officer Babb exemplifies what it is to be a Coos Bay police officer and will surely be missed, but his legacy will live on. Please join me in congratulating and thanking Senior Officer Babb for his over 20 years of dedicated service to the Coos County citizens, Coos Bay Police Department, and the city of Coos Bay. And it is with great honor that we represent and that we present Senior Officer Babb with this shadow box, which reads, "In recognition of 24 years, 7 months of exemplary service as a law enforcement professional, your loyal and dedicated service to the citizens of Coos County, the city of Coos Bay, and the Coos Bay Police Department is sincerely valued and appreciated. And I'd like to personally thank you for all the years of working with you. It's been an honor, it's been a privilege, and don't be a stranger. If you want to come back and you're reserved, that's it. And so with that, presenting with this. I've never known you to be lost for words.
Thank you all very, very much. I really appreciate it, and it's been my honor to serve. It really has. Thank you.
Council, did you have any comments for Officer Babb?
I would like to make a
It's
comment.
very difficult for us to find somebody to fill in that community officer role.
I got my
know
mic
from
on,
my
man.
partners in the community, they were apprehensive at the start of the program, but they see Officer Babb as a huge resource. So that's going to be a challenge, but I don't think it could have been launched better. So fair winds and following seas.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Mayor.
So, first of all, Officer Babs was at Rotary today, and he got a standing ovation, which was definitely supported and recognized for all his services. But I'd like to personally thank him for his service and dedication to the city of Coos Bay and the police department. I will miss seeing him and talking with him on my walks early in the morning. I always enjoyed that. And I want to ask him and welcome him and Stacy, if they both want to join us in the morning walking, keep up with that early time. And I also want to recognize his wife, Stacy, for her commitment and support of him and our community. And enjoy your retirement. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
I was just going to say, I've had the pleasure of co-chairing with Counselor Farmer, the homeless work group, which is where I got to know Officer Babb the most. And I have to tell you, I left one of those meetings. Usually there's a lot of conversation that happens afterwards. Very well respected by the people that sat on that committee and myself. But I left that meeting, one of the last ones that we had. And true to form, there was a gentleman with a cart and all of his stuff across the street, and that I noticed on my way in. And when I left and I was going around the block, there was Officer Babb. And, he was he's so easy to talk to. He doesn't make you feel like he's authority. And I think that's really what I remember most about that is just that compassion that he has to make every citizen, no matter what their socioeconomic status is, feel comfortable, to be able to ask questions, and also just to show that he cares, and that will be sorely missed, I'm sure, by this community.
Thank you for your service.
I'll just add that Daryl and I used to work together way back when our hair was a different color at Weyerhaeuser CBX Sawmill, and Daryl was always the hardest working guy in the building, and so it doesn't surprise me when I hear what a great job you do and have done for the community, so congratulations, Daryl. Moving on, item number 7, presentation of audit for fiscal year 2021-2022 by Polly Rogers and Company.
This Key Club.
Did I miss one? Oh, I'm sorry. Key Club, Harper.
So I gotta check these off.
I see how you feel now, Rob. I see ya. Hello, everyone, counselors and mayor. Thank you all for having me. Tonight, I bring to the council updates from Key Club, Marshfield ASB, Marshfield National Honor Society, and our CERT program, and an introduction to our new business program at Marshfield. In the 2 weeks before break, Marshfield Key Club held a fundraiser at the high school during lunch selling hot chocolate and candy cane grams. 2 work parties were held in preparation for the event, and members signed up to work the event, either selling the hot chocolate or selling our candy cane grams. Last Thursday was our last day for selling our hot chocolate, and our candy cane grams were delivered the Friday after to people in their homerooms. Also on that Friday, the club had its last officer meeting of 2022, where we had several new official business items to be voted on. A couple of examples are a project for the spring. At the meeting, the task was referred to our activities committee, and work is to begin at the next general club meeting. Also, according to our bylaws, every new dues paid member must be approved by the officer board, and our club's way of getting in dues paid members is by just having them work an event for us that makes us money. So at the meeting, 7 of our 7 new dues paid members were approved. And they will be approved, or they'll get their certifications on January 2023. One of our usually 4 or 5 concessions working for our booster club at the beginning of the year is budgeted only for our dues paid members, so we can, it's a really big problem for a lot of key clubs getting in dues paid members, because usually they have to pay their own dues. And we found over COVID that people don't really want to do that. So this has just been a wonderful way to get people in there and getting a lot more dues paid member, which helps our district, our international key club, and then our club. So at the meeting, we'll take that time to first approve them using Robert's Rules of Orders. We'll fill out their membership certificates, and then we'll also take that time to pay their dues to Key Club International and update our records. Last up for Key Club is our free food pantry project. This project will actually be formally introduced at the next council meeting, or at the next council meeting that the club attends, so that'll be the second one in January. At the meeting, I'll have President and Activities Committee Chair Esmeralda Milan, as well as our Project Committee Chair Percy Miller, who will give our proposal to the council. Until then, I'd just like to introduce the project very briefly. At the very end of the 2022 school year, Marshfield Key Club applied for and received a grant from the Marshfield Booster Club. With our grant, the club voted and has been working on a project that we feel will truly benefit our community. Our idea is to spend on those free libraries you can see downtown, only ours will be filled with non-perishable foods as well as basic hygiene products. Right now, all we have left to do is finalize our quote for the project, because we're still waiting to hear back from Builders First Source. We had our original quote back in June, but we recognize with the current market that prices have probably changed one way or another. So yeah, we'll have that, and then we also have to finalize our spots, or our presented spots to you guys. So yeah, I'd also like to thank Nicole and Roger. They've been really wonderful in helping with this process, and we could not have done it without them, so thank you guys so much. Now I'll be moving on to some of our other updates from the high school. This past week up at the Hill, Marshfield had its annual Les Schwab basketball tournament. We hosted basketball games and teams from around the state of Oregon, with our Lady Pirates taking 3rd place overall in the tournament for the girls. Oh, that's the wrong page, hold on. I didn't do that right. Marshfield ASB hosted our two-day Spirit Week at the high school on the Thursday and Friday, Thursday being our pajama day and our ugly Christmas sweater day on Friday. On Wednesday, December 14th, Marshfield environmental classes got to take a field trip to the amazing Newport Aquarium. It was a really wonderful trip, and we got to take about just over 100 kids to Newport, which is really fun. It was a really amazing trip. We learned a lot. When reaching out, a spokesperson for the MHS Honor Society said they would start beginning their after-school tutoring program for Marshfield students and junior high students. For the junior high students, it'll also be during their BAT, which is their Buccaneer Advisory Time, which is basically just their homeroom, even though it's up at the high school. And lastly, for our clubs is our CERT program. I currently serve as the president of our CERT program at Marshfield, and we just got our last of 7 shipments of $700 worth of emergency preparedness supplies that we have fundraised for over the past 2 years. Our last packages were delivered on Thursday to the high school, and when we get back, we will work with club members to organize and put them away in our big purple storage container behind the high school. So yeah, that'll be really wonderful, seeing as how Marshfield is in a tsunami evacuation area. we do a lot for them. And lastly, I have a long overdue introduction to our new CTE, or Career Technical Education Program. Marshfield has been fortunate to get a business CTE program focusing on opening a school store with Marshfield branded goods. Current courses include Introduction to Business, which I'm currently in. It's a wonderful class. Personal Finance, Marketing, and Entrepreneurship. Miss Suite's students are creating vision boards with student-led designs and will oversee the production process. The school store's mission is to ensure every MHS student has access to something with the Marshfield brand. As of right now, the shop in the main building is undergoing renovations. It's getting new paint, it's getting new countertops, it's getting a lot of new woodwork, and they're currently selling several different types of bracelets. They're selling stickers, they're selling hats, and at the end of January, they're hoping to start selling their hoodies and their sweatshirts and t-shirts. And that is it. Thank you guys so much, and have a wonderful holiday.
You too.
Can I ask how, you mentioned the dues at the beginning. How much are those annually? You mentioned the dues.
They are $12.50 per member. 7 of that goes to Key Club International, and then $5.50 goes to our PNW district.
Nice, thanks.
Yes, thank you. And that gives members access to hundreds of resources from Key Club International. That gives them their membership dues card, and that also gives them access to go to the district convention every single year. This year it is in Seattle.
And $12.50?
Yes, per
Okay.
person. But the way the club has it set up is we will pay for it if you work an event that makes the club money.
Nice.
And that's budgeted with our first football concession, which is about $500. So every year we have about $500 budgeted just for dues. And so we're able to pay a big chunk of the clubs.
Awesome, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Harper. It's always good to hear what you guys are doing up there at the high school. We appreciate it. Now on to item number 7, presentation of audit for fiscal year 2021-2022 by Polly Rogers and Company. Tara Camp. Is this, Melissa, are you leading this out?
I'll take it. The City of Coos Bay engaged Polly Rogers and Company to perform the external independent audit of the fiscal year 2021-22 financial statements and records, and Tara's online to present the audit.
Good evening,
Hello,
Mr.
Tara.
Mayor. Hello, good evening, Mr. Mayor and fellow council members. My name is Tara Camp, and I'm a partner with Polly Rogers and Company, and we are the firm that performs the independent financial statement audit for the city. So this evening, I would like to go over the results of that audit, and I'm going to review the governing body letter that was issued along with your audit. That's always a nice little letter that summarizes everything we're required to communicate with you. So on page 1, we cover the purpose of the audit. And for the city, the purpose is threefold. We perform the financial statement audit, and that is where we test and assess the financials created by management in order to determine if they're fairly stated. Secondly, we perform the Oregon Minimum Standards Compliance Audit. That is required for all governments in the state of Oregon, and that is where we look at different ORSs and laws and regulations to see if the city is in compliance. And then lastly, for this year, we also performed the federal single audit, and that is related specifically to federal funds that the city receives, and we test various compliance areas with those federal funds. So on page 2 of the letter, we go over the results of the audit, and the results for the city are excellent. Nicole and Melissa are fantastic to work with. They worked really hard to get the audit done. We give them so much work to do. So I want to thank them and the entire finance staff for their very good work. For the financial statement audit, we issued a clean opinion with no reservations, an unmodified opinion. For state minimum standards, we found no exceptions or issues requiring comment. And for the federal single audit, we found no issues of noncompliance and no question costs. And we also did not issue a management letter, which is very good. In the paragraph below, under significant audit matters, we noted that the city implemented GASB statement number 87 leases this year. It's one of the biggest changes to governmental accounting in many years, and so that was a big undertaking. And then on page 3, we also note we encountered no difficulties in performing and completing our audit. We had no disagreements with management about accounting or auditing issues. And then lastly, on page 4 and 5, we cover future accounting and auditing issues that are coming out. There's always new standards coming out that we have to comply with. So it's good to be aware of that because it can change some of your financial reporting and might require extra work in the finance office. So it's good to be aware of what's coming out in the future. So overall, excellent results for the city, and I would be happy to take any questions if you had any.
Council, do you have any questions for Tara? I just have a comment. So no management letter. Typically, a management letter will give you some recommendations for improvements in certain areas. Isn't that correct?
Yes, a management letter as a part of an audit would be issued if we came across weaknesses that are considered significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. And those are pretty serious items that come up that could misstate your financial statements. So we had none of those, which are very good.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions for Tara? Okay, thank you, Tara. I guess we'll see you later tonight.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Nicole and Melissa. I know how difficult it is to go through an audit. It's a lot of work, and I appreciate the work you guys did for this. Moving on, item number 8.
Need a motion.
We need a motion.
Need to accept.
I move we accept the fiscal year 2021-2022 audit.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the fiscal year 2021-2022 audit. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Now moving on to item number 8, 2023-2033 Parks, Recreational, and Cultural Facilities Plan. Carolyn?
Good evening. Earlier in this year, the council established a goal to update the current Parks Master Plan. And by May of this year, you gave some fairly distinct direction to the Parks Commission to get started on that effort. You also included in that direction a focus on cultural facilities to wrap that into the plan, and also a focus on funding sources and public-private partnerships. So the Parks Commission began their work, and over the last 7 months, the Commission, their subcommittee, worked on this plan. There were a couple of work sessions that the Parks Commission held. The council held a few work sessions as well. And there was a lot of feedback that we received from the public last summer as part of an online survey and community outreach. There was a presence at Farmers Market, in our Friday update, on our website. And generally, there was quite a bit of feedback that you see in Appendix A of the draft plan. The result of all of that work can be found now in the draft that you have before you, that you just mentioned. And I'd like to walk you through that a little bit if I could, and I'll be available for questions if anybody wants to stop me. The plan includes 3 chapters, 6 appendices, and it's fairly succinct. For a plan like this, it's 30 pages, but I think it gets right to the bottom line. There's not a lot of extra in here, but I believe that it gets the job done, and the Parks Commission is pretty happy with it, and they are recommending that you adopt this plan with the resolution that you have this evening. The first chapter of the plan talks about the purpose of the plan and the public participation efforts that went on to make this plan happen. Chapter 2 describes the city's location, demographic references, resources that were identified by the public or are required for future funding to show consistency with the state comprehensive and outdoor recreation plan, and the identification and description of city facilities. This particular chapter identified the many parks and cultural facilities that the city has ownership in, and included references to what some of those needs are in the future. So the Parks Commission spent quite a bit of time on that. That's really kind of the meat and potatoes of the plan, really showing what it is you have on record right now. The third chapter, it's called The Framework for the Future, and it speaks to council leadership, the community's vision, and the plan goals and objectives. There's 4 key goals in the plan, and I thought I might go through those quickly. Each goal is really a statement of what would be envisioned for the future. There are objectives to each goal, and those are the means by which you will achieve your goal is by these objectives. So objectives are really how you implement your goal. So beginning with the first goal, it was to enhance existing facilities for public enjoyment and safety and maintenance. Consider new facilities when opportunity and financial capacity are available. Council was very clear that you didn't want to take on any new facilities at this time, but the plan leaves the door open so that down the road, if you do have capacity, there are resources in this plan that can kind of get you to where you want to go. But it does not commit you to anything beyond what is in this plan. But you certainly have the discretion to modify it down the road. Goal 2 is to develop citywide branding of the facilities that you do have. It notes that in this goal that you would facilitate parks and cultural directional and facility identification with city branding. Branding will enhance resident and visitor connectivity with city parks, facilities, and cultural facilities and resources. There are 2 objectives that go along with this. I'm not going to read through them, but they essentially kind of tell you how to achieve that goal. The third goal is to pursue sustainable funding sources and seek out a wide variety of funding resources that are identified in the plan and elsewhere. So you're not limited to what's in this plan as far as funding resources. A section of this chapter identifies some examples of funding resource types, and it refers you on to Appendix C of the plan that identifies 18 specific public and private funding opportunities from the state, from foundations, from a variety of resources. Goal 4, and this was your final goal, was to build an enhanced relationship for plan implementation. Just listening to the presentations tonight, it's really clear that so much of what the city does is done in partnership with the community and a lot of different folks. And this is really no different. There are 4 objectives on how to make that goal happen. And I believe there are things that you've already been doing for some time, but it certainly is good to showcase those in this plan for your future reference. And beyond that, there are not really, I don't really have anything more to share unless there's questions. I would say though that the Parks Commission, as they kind of wound down their discussion on the goals and the priorities that the city might want to think about in future budget years, they wanted to have a discussion with you with some recommendations for funding priority projects that they consider priority. And I've identified those in the staff report. The first one was the Empire Lake Bridge installation at John Toppitz Park. That's noted in Plan Section 2.41A2. The second was Mingus Pond dredging. That was noted in that same section, 2.4.1A. And the third was citywide branding of park, recreational, and cultural facilities. That was included in one of the goals that I just referenced. So all of these are things that this last bit that I just shared is something that would be done separately from any action you're going to take on the resolution in front of you. So I think that Jim and Roger may have other comments on this, but at this time tonight, we're asking you to hear from the public and discuss the plan and reach a conclusion on whether you'd like to go ahead and adopt resolution to approve the plan. The last thing that this resolution would do, it would be to repeal the prior plan, so you just have the one plan on the books. I would note that some of the pieces of the old plan, like maintenance efforts, things like that, were included in the appendices of this plan. There was a lot of work that went into that, and it was well done. So Parks Commission elected to keep that. So I'm available for any questions anytime, before or after you open it up to the public. Thank you.
Council, do you have any questions for Carolyn before I open the public hearing? Hearing none, I'll open the public hearing. And it looks like we have some names on the list that would like to comment. Ralph Moore.
My name is Ralph Moore. I live in 1165 Ferguson in Coos Bay. Is one of the things I want to talk about well, I have a couple of things first. One, I would like to thank Carolyn, who you just heard from. She sent me at short notice today a copy of the plan online and rushed it. I thank you very much, Carolyn. Also, I want to thank the board or the council for the support of the Mings Park pool, which I'm very much involved with, and also with the Marshfield Sun Printing Museum. In the recreation plan, I think what you have planned for those two shall we say, places is quite satisfactory, and it's amazing. I swam at Mingus this morning, and there were over 20 people over the 2 hours I was there who were in the water at 45-degree temperature and laughing. So this has been a very positive thing. One thing I think you're missing in your plan, though, is consideration of kayaks. Is that having gone through the plan, is that I'm afraid that you're looking at it from land toward the water rather than from the water to the land. Now, I'm wearing my wooden boat shirt, sweatshirt and what have you. I have a 16-foot rowboat that I use, and I've been all over the bay. And I happen to know that one of the problems you have is very few kayak spots, much less boat spots, but I'm talking about kayaks now. And what I'm talking about is a little aluminum thing that they have out at Eel Lake, specifically designed by the Oregon Parks, which could be used to add extra kayak spots for kayakers to put in. Because right now you only have 3 within Coos Bay. You have East Side boat ramp, you have the Coos Bay docks, and you have the Empire boat ramp. That's it. And I happen to know, having rowed it, that going from Coos Bay docks to the North Bend docks, which is on California Street, it's a 3-hour jaunt into the wind. And you also have to judge for the tide. I would like to recommend that the Coos Bay put in kayak ramps or docks at the Coos Historical Museum, and then in collaboration with the Mill Casino, that you put in one there, because then that would break up that long kayak trip all the way from Coos Bay to North Bend. And I mention kayaks because we were in Juneau on a cruise, my wife and I, and we looked down and we saw kayakers cavorting among the pilings. These were tours. And we don't have any of this in Coos Bay. Here's another tourist objective. And you also have, I've been up Colbank Slough, which is a hoot because you can go under the bridge. And you have Haynes Inlet, which is north. You have Isthmus Slough. You have Davis Slough. We have a water wonderland here that has not been approached regarding it from the water. And I'm not talking just about kayaks, but I'm also talking about paddleboards. I swam at Eel Lake over 20 times this last summer. And every time there was anywhere from 10 to 20 kayakers and paddleboards out there with me. It's amazing. But we don't have anything of this that's been promoted and that we could do within Coos Bay right at the moment. What I recommend is that you put in, as I said, what the Oregon parks have. You can see one out at Eel Lake. But the big problem is having a ramp down to it. I went and looked at excuse me, I went and looked at the Coos Historical Museum when they put in the boardwalk. There was no consideration for a boat ramp down to a little dock. Now, I'm not talking of something that's very large, because we really don't want to have a boat ramp near the Coos Historical Museum because it'd be full of salmon fishermen all the time.
Hey, Ralph, the timer went off a minute ago.
Oh, that's okay. The lawyer's not here now. All right, I will finish up on this. You need a boat ramp also at the Mill Casino, because all they have there is a gravel ramp, which is only good at high water. So these are considerations that you have to make. I have pictures of the Eel Lake dock that was put in by the Oregon Parks, and you can certainly see that or do your own research. Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph. Next name on the list is Suzanne Robbins.
So just state my name and address.
Yes, please.
63498 Andrews Road in Coos Bay. And I've asked and spoken to different people at Mingus Park about a hand railing on the stairs to get down to where the amphitheater area is. I love Mingus Park, but I no longer can access it, and nor can other people. All it takes is a little PVC pipe or little metal things, and it would be wonderful to have a stair, be able to get down those stairs. Thank you.
Thank you. Next name is Mike Vaughn.
Evening, council and audience. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Hanukkah, and solstice. I agree with Ralph, and I've been proposing a kayak ramp for 3 or 4 years. Also at the Historical Museum, where they've acquired some property from Sauce. And the Marine Board has plans for that, and they will cost the city nothing for the plans. We just have to kind of look at it and see if that applies to the site. I request that we do that. Second thing, I'm hoping that we can get some maintenance on our city boardwalk, specifically roofs, and something to alleviate the homeless occupation that is constant there. They're building fires, they're leaving garbage behind, feces, all kinds of things. I don't know that patrols would help that. It's a nationwide problem. But I think that we are neglecting the tourists that come through. I play music down there every Sunday afternoon, and the tourists walk in, they see the homeless, they see the pigeon poop, and they just turn and walk right out. There's a lot of interpretive signage there, and they start to look at it, and the environment is just not conducive to hanging out for them, and they move on pretty quickly. So I've also experienced that about, probably more than half of the roof systems there they're leaking. There's water on the interior floors. And I was a part of the design team with Crow Clay office when
1 minute.
designed. And I designed in the pavilions. I was asked to go do sketches of the mills and that architecture of our mills here in town. And that's what our theme became, architecturally. And Steve Clay wanted to do a little Native American roof, which was board over board planks. And they worked fine for centuries with the Native Americans because they knew about cups, and they would cup and trough, cup and trough. Well, our roofs are 2 by 6, and they have a little groove down the middle of them created by the router, and that failed. And so Steve says, well, caulk all the roofs up with caulking. That'll fix it. It's a failed design. And what our sawmills have had, iconically, were corrugated galvanized roofs. It's pretty common in town, Front Street. About half of the roofs down there, Coos Machine Shop, all corrugated metal. I would advise us to look into corrugated metal roofs. We could put those roofs right over the existing roof. We don't need to tear them out, just put a corrugated metal roof on. Any questions?
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all the names I have on the list. Is there anybody else that would like to comment? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Roger, can you talk, don't we have a kayak launch going in Empire Lakes?
We do have a kayak launch going into Empire Lakes, and I would share that actually Southern Oregon Coast has financed that. They also had someone come out and evaluate a number of sites actually in the city limits of Coos Bay. The casino was not one of those because they're actually, it's in North Bend. But that was the site that was chosen. It will be exactly like Eel Lakes, and that should be in within, I believe, the next 60 days.
Can I just expand on that a little bit, Rob? So I'm on the TSOC board, and I can tell you that they got some money from Judy Ann Mogan Foundation to do just kayaks within the county, and they've done a number of them. As Roger stated, Empire Lakes is one. They also going to be putting one in North Bend on the boardwalk, I believe, and they have looked at other sites in Coos Bay. So it's not something that they're going to stop at. They want to continue on with that. They believe, as Ralph Moore-Meds mentioned, is a tourist draw and attraction. So this is something that they will continue to look at and install these kayak launches.
I can also add that the Coos Historical Society, the Coos History Museum did think about kayak launches when there was an application to the URA to expand the boardwalk section. It wasn't within the scope or feasibility at the time, but it's definitely a consideration for the future.
Yeah, I think the Front Street work group had looked into that. Carolyn, in fact, was involved in that. So that's something that always can be considered down the road. But I'm not sure there's how it'll all pencil out. As Sarah stated, I'm not sure if it's feasible. So.
Thank you, Mayor. Is there any further discussion on the Parks Recreational and Cultural Facilities Plan?
Well, I have a few comments. I'm not sure if anyone else is on the council, but first of all, I want to thank the Parks Commission and the staff for 7 months of hard work. They've done a wonderful job, and I think it's great. And one of the things that's come up, I think most of us know that we talked about dredging. Roger, you can reference this back before COVID. We had a grant for $1.5 million to dredge it and redo that pond, and now we lost that grant because of whatever was going on at the state level. I would really advocate that we try to find some funding to do that again. I think that's important. I look through the comments that were made, a lot of them mentioned that the deterioration of Mingus Park, and it's kind of sad. And so I'm hoping that we can find some way to redo Mingus Park, the pond itself, and the playgrounds that are, I think, in dire need of some assistance and attention. I know that it's hard for our staff to do this with a limited amount. But Roger, I think also, didn't we use Clear Waters to do some kind of maintenance on a contract basis?
I would probably have to defer to Greg on that. I don't know that Clearwater was actually, their owner was one of our prior employees that did manage work out there.
Well, I thought I saw something recently come through some of our notification that that was going on, but because it was referenced in one of the comments that, maybe that type of thing could be done, because I know that we have limited amount of people. So I don't know. I mean, I wish that we could find ways to get more grants. Aren't we using CCD also to get grant for us, hopefully?
We are.
Okay. So anyway, and then I think the footbridges, I'm not sure what bridges they're referencing. I looked through the plan. I don't know what specifically they are, but I know there's some bridges that need attention there. So I would support anything that we can do. Funding, it's going to be a huge issue. I think that it's difficult for us to put a set amount into the general fund. Our general fund dollars are pretty tied up. It's not in urban renewal, Mingus Park, or even, well, I guess John Top, it's part of it is, but not a lot of it. So that's a problem. I mean, we'd have to start looking at maybe a parks levy that was mentioned in there under, I think it was goal 3. They talked about different forms of funding. And so I think that we need to find a way to try to get some of those funds to and see where we can go to address some of our parks and get them back up to where we'd like them to be an attraction for everyone. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with the mayor. I think we really need to focus more on our parks. When I was looking through this plan, I noticed that some of the priorities for Mingus Park and Toppitz Park, the lists were identical as they were in 2013, which means we haven't completed anything on those since 2013. So I think it's super important that we, in our goal setting coming up, that the council makes this a priority. Any other comments on this? How would you like to proceed?
Move that we adopt Resolution 22 Tech 30 adopting the 2023 to 2033 Parks, Recreational, and Cultural Facilities Plan.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 2230, adopting the 2023-2033 Parks, Recreational, and Cultural Facilities Plan. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. And Roger, I assume you and Jim will work to get a meeting set up with the Parks Commission for their request on this?
Yes, we'll set up a meeting and then bring that information to you. The reality is, the tough part is, as the council already knows, there's far more needs than there are resources within the city. So sometimes we can set priorities for which project we want to do, but the reality will come in if we find a grant, will that grant fit that priority? And we have been, in fact, we're getting ready to provide you a council goal report. And one of your council goals was to resurface Mingus Park Pool, which was done. And just prior to that, there was a goal to redo all of the plumbing for that great asset, which was completed. There are projects that are being done. It's just far and few between.
I understand. Also, do you think that you could get staff to meet with Ms. Robbins on her concern about Mingus Park?
I think that's one of our easier tasks we could take care of.
Okay, thank you. Carolyn, thank you to you and the Parks Commission for your work on this. We appreciate it.
Thank you, and congratulations for the adoption. Thank you.
Moving on to item number 9, approval of community development block grant application submission. Nicole?
Yes, thank you. You may remember in the last several months, we just came to you to give you closeout information on the last community development block grant that we partnered with NeighborWorks Umpqua to provide housing rehabilitation for homes in Coos Bay, Reedsport, and Coos County. That was a pretty successful grant, $500,000 in total, $400,000 for stick built and $100,000 for focused towards mobile home improvements, with the intention to help those folks rehabilitate their homes and be able to stay in them. We all know we have some housing challenges here locally. So we also just met recently and discussed those housing challenges and meeting that annual meeting requirement surrounding coming up with additional resources here in our community to reduce the rent burden that we have. So after closeout, we were approached again by NeighborWorks Umpqua to see if we had interest in walking that path again of a new CDBG grant. That opens up this spring. It's kind of fast and furious at the very beginning, some steps to kind of walk through in order to get ready for that grant. And that first step is to bring this to you and ask for your approval to start that path. We'll then do a publication, hold a hearing in January, which we will publicly notice then that we will be applying for a grant and what the intention of that grant is for. So we're asking, hopefully, for your support to apply for a grant again.
And I'm with Daniel. If you have any questions, I'm Robert Woods with NeighborWorks.
Thank you, Nicole. Council, do you have any questions for Nicole or Robert? Hearing none. Any further discussion on this matter? How would you like to proceed?
I move to approve partnering with NeighborWorks Umpqua to assist in the preparation of community development block grant to be used to rehabilitate homes within Coos Bay, Reedsport, and Coos County.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve partnering with NeighborWorks Umpqua to assist in the preparation of a community development block grant to be used to rehabilitate homes in Coos Bay, Reedsport, and Coos County. Any further discussion?
Just a consideration that, we've got this great weatherization program at Orca that is so restricted on what it can and can't do as far as home repairs. And so I'd love to see a partnership between NeighborWorks Umpqua and Orca to really leverage the CDBG funds with these really highly restricted weatherization funds to help support more homes.
That would be ideal.
Any further discussion? I'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 10 is extension of appointments to various city boards and committees. Nicole?
I can take that one. The city's blessed to have a number of volunteers, citizens who serve on various city boards, committees, or commissions. Every year, about this time, a number of those positions or those terms on those committees come due. This year, we missed proper notification on that due to some staffing challenges. Staff will be undertaking an application period over the next month, and we're requesting that the council extend those current terms for an additional 30 days. I think the only one that you can make or could make an appointment on is the one for the Coos Bay North Bend Visitor Convention Bureau. That one is currently appointed by the council. It has been in the past either a member of the council or an appointed person on staff. I've been serving in that role for a number of years, and that appointment is based off a intergovernmental agreement between now the 4 partners. So it would be appropriate if you, unless someone else wants to serve on that committee, you could just go ahead and extend or reappoint me for another 2 years.
So do we just need a motion on that then?
Yes.
Okay, I move that we approve Roger Craddock to the next term for the Visitor and Convention Bureau.
Second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to extend Roger Craddock for a 2-year term on the VCB, I think it was, yes. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? I guess you're on again for 2 years.
Thank you. And then I think the only matter of business left is for you to formally, a motion to extend those who are set to expire on the various boards, committees, and commissions to extend until the end of January.
Actually,
March
Sorry.
31st.
March, sorry about that.
We'll probably be ready earlier than that, but that gives us the capacity, depending on how many applications we receive.
I move to extend the December 31st, 2022 expiring terms until March 31st, 2023, or earlier appointment of candidates can be made for the Budget Committee, Planning Committee, Coos Bay North Bend Water Board.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to extend the December 31st, 2022 expiring terms until March 31st, 2023, or earlier appointment of candidates can be made for the Budget Committee, Planning Commission, Coos Bay North Bend Water Board. Any further discussion?
Were all those folks willing to accept an extension to March?
Yes, so I reached out to each of them, and not only do they have an interest to extend, but they would likely reapply when that's opened up.
Okay, good question. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 11 is City Manager's Report.
Yes, from myself and on behalf of city staff, I wanted to thank the council for your generosity and the ongoing support you provide to city staff. And I'd like to officially go on record by saying that your collective cooking skills and ability is second to none. Staff, we're probably going to need a new health plan, but I've gotten so many comments, not only on the fact that you took your time and that you guys spent time making great treats and brought down 7 trays of cookies to show your support at Christmas time to our city staff, and they were amazing. So,
We tested those on the City of North Bend Council first.
so and then my wife asked me if I would share her appreciation and your thoughtful symphony and messages and flowers at the passing of her dad, and she was very thankful. She would be here herself, but I don't think she'd get through it. So thank you. You know, we're nearing the end of this year, and it's a time when most Americans start thinking about resolutions for the new year. And it just so happens this year it also happens to be something similar for us, and that's when the council goes through its annual or biannual goal setting. So I want to remind you that we have a date coming up on January 21st, where the council will undergo its 2-year goal-setting process. Our consultant, John Morgan, will be contacting you within the next couple of weeks, as he wants to set aside some time to have a conversation with each of you about your individual thoughts and desires as far as council goals ahead of our collective meeting. I've provided him your contact information so he could set up those dates. He has some unique skills and experiences, not only as a longtime planner, facilitator, but also as a prior city manager. So we're looking forward to that. Staff is putting together right now a status update on your goal setting, and it's amazing how much has happened over the last 2 years. Did we achieve every goal? No. But you've achieved much more than what was on those goals. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Roger. Item number 12 is council comments. Sarah?
I really enjoy having the high school Key Club come and present. Thanks for taking the time to do that. Always appreciate it when people from the public come and make comments and help inform things like the railing for Mingus Park. So thanks for being here and taking time out. I'm also really excited about the CDBG grant. It's desperately needed in our community, so thank you. I also want to say thank you to the voters for trusting me. It was a close election, and happy to be here in service for the next 4 years.
Thank you, Sarah. Stephanie?
I probably don't have as much information on the distribution. Sarah, can you help me out? Very successful and needed year this year.
Yeah, 986 kits.
And an army of volunteers. I popped in and out a couple of times and am just amazed. I think there were people that have been there for decades that had come back and helped. And it's really where the rubber meets the road. You get to see and feel the emotion that comes through there, and very much appreciate the community that assisted with the collection of toys, and then all of the volunteers who worked with the families to get them set up for the holidays. So appreciate that. Other than that, I just wish everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and however you celebrate.
Thank you, Stephanie. Drew?
Simple one. Happy holidays to everybody, and if you don't celebrate any holidays at this time, congratulations on another trip around the sun.
Thanks, Drew. Mayor?
Yeah, I got a couple items. So Wayne Strunk asked me to announce he is having an open house again this week through Friday from 4:30 to 7:30 p.m. as he calls it, the Blue House, which is on Empire Boulevard. Many of you might have seen his post on Facebook. Anyway, it's on your way out to Charleston on the left. He will be serving cookies, candy canes, and everyone is welcome. So I'm going to be attending Friday, and hopefully you can join me. And I also want to take this time to thank the voters for reelecting our council and myself, and I appreciate the support of this council. We work great together, and I look forward to continuing to work with this council and achieve a lot of things. And that goal-setting session will be something to look forward to. It's interesting. We've done a lot of goals. Hopefully, we won't be too burdensome on the staff. But anyway, I also would like to take this time to wish the community and the staff of Coos Bay and their families happy holidays, and wish my fellow councilors and their families happy holidays also. Thank you.
Thank you,
And
Mayor.
Rob, thank you for stepping in again.
Thank you. The only thing I have is I echo what the mayor and Sarah said about thanking the voters. Those 231 write-in votes sting a little bit, so they'll keep us in check. And the only other thing is to wish everyone a happy holiday weekend. Stay safe, enjoy your families if you can. And that's all I have. And with that, I will close the city council meeting, or adjourn the city council meeting, and pass it over to Chair Kilmer for the URA meeting.
And we're going to take a 5-minute break so that we can get everything